Hello, everybody. Welcome to Generation Gap. I'm your host, Gretchen, joined as always by my co-host, Tom.
And I'm Tom, joined as always by my co-host, Gretchen.
And today we have Titanic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is my fault. We had a plan for something else.
That's funny.
And then 2 or 3 weeks ago, I texted Tom, and I was like, we have to do Titanic. Yeah. Because at our last episode, we focused primarily on the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And
the best picture winners.
And we talked about Titanic, and I said I should probably get around and actually watch that movie. And I did watch that movie. So I had a lot of thoughts, and I made Tom sit through a 3-hour film for, I think, the second time in his life.
Yeah.
And so here
I wasn't happy about it.
So here we are. Well, that's too bad.
You know, I want to point out, too, we don't really talk about any of these films before we actually sit and discuss them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't collaborate. We don't watch the films together.
No.
And so you don't really know necessarily what I'm thinking. I don't know what you're thinking, really, until the day we're actually recording. Mm-hmm. But we both love classic films, so a lot of times we do agree.
We do agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we do. So I don't really know where you are on this film.
I'm excited.
I'm kind of curious.
So Titanic, famously, is a film released in 1997, a blockbuster hit released by James Cameron, with a cast consisting of Kate Winslet, Leonardo DiCaprio, Billy Zane, Kathy Bates, Victor Garber, Bernard Hill, David Warner, Gloria Stewart, and I think her last film role, and one of my favorites of all time, Bill Paxton.
Yeah, oh, he's so good, isn't he?
Yeah, always.
Every scene he's in, it just makes you sad.
Among many other...
Yeah, it's a real cast of thousands.
Yeah, many other cast members. This film was, I believe, the highest grossing film of that year. The initial worldwide gross was over $1.84 billion.
It cost more to make the film than it cost to build the Titanic.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's going to be a common theme we're going to keep coming back to in this film.
Yep.
This
and wasn't it also the highest grossing film
until Avatar?
Also by Cameron.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So that was the highest grossing film for a long time.
This film also, like we mentioned it in the Oscars video, had tied the record with Ben-Hur for the most Academy Awards won by a film. It would be tied again in 2003 with Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Right.
It's been recently surpassed by Sinners this year, which reminds me, per our last episode, I won.
What?
I was right. For Best Picture.
Oh, yeah. I think I was a little bit biased in that. I just didn't want to believe it would win.
Okay.
I can't believe it won.
Sinners didn't win. My guess won.
Oh, what won? This is how little I watch the Oscars nowadays. I really don't even care. So what did win? I don't even know.
Let me look, because I know the name of it. I just want to make sure I get it right. It was One Battle After Another.
Oh.
That was my bet.
Gosh, another Leonardo DiCaprio film.
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson. Well, every time I see Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie that's up for Oscars, I assume that they're going to give it to them.
Yeah.
Especially after, what was it? He's done a lot recently.
I haven't agreed with the Oscars in a long, long time, which is why I don't really watch anymore.
Well, we already had that episode.
Yeah, we did, right? We may revisit that a few times per year.
Per year is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, but today we're here to talk about Titanic. So let's talk. Well, we already said this is my first go through. So why don't you talk about Titanic first? Where were you in 1997?
Oh, sitting in the theater for 3+ hours watching Titanic. That's one of the places I was that year. I'm one of the few who didn't really like it even on initial viewing.
Okay.
Everyone was. It's so weird. I'm telling you, and we could talk about this another time also. But I've mentioned it to you about Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like a mass hysteria where people suddenly, almost like we're told, you have to see this movie. You're going to love it. And my whole life, my initial reflex when people say you have to watch this is I'm not going to watch it. You know, and I regretted sometimes, like when everyone was like, you have to get CDs instead of the old LP records. And I was like, no, LP records are great. I'm going to hang on. I got over 200. I'm going to save them. Then when I finally did listen to a CD, I was like, what was I waiting for? It's great. And now even they're obsolete, right? But
yeah, LPs are back actually.
Oh, I know, which is so funny. Yeah. They're so expensive. You know, I still have all my old ones. You know, again, like 200+. Oof. But they're all scratchy sounding. I mean, they're not nearly as good as the quality today. But I'm very slow when people say you got to do this. I don't want to do it. That's almost a turn off to me. So, but I did see Titanic. And I didn't like it. And I almost felt like, something wrong with me? Like, that, it was #1 for so long at the box office. People loved it. It won all these Academy Awards. I'm like, it's got to just be me. I got to tell you. So I watched it again for the first time since 1997. And it's not me. It's really, I don't think it's a good film. I think the acting, the writing is almost cringeworthy. And we can get more into it. But I'll tell you, some of the lines, one of the first lines you hear is Leonardo DiCaprio saying, when they're playing poker at the beginning, he says, "Well, you got nothing to lose." I'm like, seriously? That's such a cliche line. Like, that's the big line. And is there any doubt that he's going to win? Like, obviously he gets on the ship, so you know he's going to win.
He's on the poster.
There's really no, yeah, right, exactly. There's no real tension in a lot of the setups. Like, he's going to get with her. I mean, a lot of the stuff So to me, there was no real guesswork in the film, which maybe takes away from it a little bit. I don't know. But, I mean, you also know the ship's going to sink, so I can't say that it takes away everything. But I don't know. I just, watching it again, I wanted to like it. I wanted to think that maybe I missed something, or maybe I was just judging it a little harshly. We'll get into this more, but I'll tell you, just my initial reaction also was, why is this film so anti-men? It's really an anti-male film. Because I'll tell you, and I don't know if you ever heard about this, I wrote an article years ago, and it was called How the Titanic, in parentheses, almost sank feminism. And it's really a true story. When there was a big rally planned for April 16th or 17th in New York City for the women's right to vote, big suffragette march. Ex-President Theodore Roosevelt had already agreed to appear. All the suffragettes from the country were going to show up. Huge rally in New York City. And then the Titanic sank. And the woman, I don't remember her name, she was bigger than any of the feminist names you know now at the time. But then she saw how bravely the men, her words were how gallantly the men acted on the Titanic. She said, and I think it would be in very poor taste for us to hold a rally, asking for the right to vote when we're not willing to do the same for men. She said, so if we're willing to let them die for us, why are we so afraid to let them vote for us? And the point is, it's not that women had no influence. I know it sounds terrible, like women not voting, but women had huge influence. A lot of men didn't follow politics, didn't care. Women were following when their husbands went to the voting booth, they went there with their women's wishes in mind. Even from the very beginning, Abigail said to John Adams, "Don't forget the women." It was a running theme. So yes, they couldn't vote, but they also weren't dying in wars. They weren't dying on the ships. Of the however many 1,700 passengers who died, I think only 110 were women, because the men really bravely. And this film also is such a class film because they show all the rich people acting. They have, and not only this one, other Titanic films, an earlier one, I think A Night to Remember, or maybe the original Titanic film. They have a man dressing up as a woman to get onto the lifeboats. When nothing like that actually happened in real life.
I have notes on the classism.
Yeah, I don't know if yours agree with mine, but I just thought, why make all the rich people look so bad? The whole thing about the peasants or the lower class being locked in the... That's fake. That's right, it's fake. That's been a theme in a lot of the Titanic films. They weren't locked in there. A lot of it was a language barrier. They didn't know what they were saying. They were telling them to come up, the ship is sinking, and they didn't understand that. Anyway, I just thought, why is James Cameron doing that? Like, every man had some sort of... Except for very few, there was always some baggage. Like there was something wrong with every guy. And the whole, obviously, Billy Zane character is completely fictional. He's willing even to, risk or risk his life just to stay on the ship. And you realize later it's for the necklace, not just to kill Leonardo DiCaprio or to kill her. I always thought, is he really that bent on killing his fiance? But then you find out he's just greedy. He wants that necklace because he put it in her coat. Yeah. Which was a good scene, actually. I did like that. And he's like, I put this sweat in her sweater, and she's wearing, and I gave her the sweater. That was a good scene. But I don't know. I was a little surprised by James Cameron because I know he likes strong female characters. Sure. And he did in this film, obviously, too. But that's completely, again, she's considered strong. Believe it or not, he liked her because she goes back, which is also, again, I'm like, come on. They knew each other for less than 48 hours. I mean, about 48 hours, but they weren't together all those 48 hours. They did sleep. And she's going to get back off the lifeboat and get on the ship to be with him? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot I cringed at watching it again. I was like, I don't know. And even like the character Fabrizio, he just seemed like he was almost worse than Chico Marx with some of his lines.
Caricature?
Yeah, it was like a caricature. Yeah. I just thought, oh, God, I was cringing. Every time he's like, hey, yeah, boss, what's about? Come on, it's just so bad. I could see if the guy was really from Italy, but the actor isn't. Well, no. So I don't know. I didn't really buy that.
So I saw this for the first time about 3 weeks ago. Wow. Right before I texted. It took me about 5 days to get through this movie.
Oh, I know, it is so long. And it doesn't need to be that long.
Part of it is I work, right. So like, I started, I watched 20 minutes, half an hour, I finished.
It's a big commitment.
In between blocks of me watching this what I did primarily was read articles and watch documentaries about the Titanic.
Yeah. Any of which is probably better.
Well, and this is 100% true too. For those of you who may be interested, it takes longer to watch this film than it did for the Titanic to sink.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
And James Cameron spent more time on the Titanic than the passengers and crew.
Woof.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Under the ocean now.
So this movie, when I was watching it, became 2 films to me. Because really, this is kind of like this weird midpoint in James Cameron's career. So now we know him primarily as the mind behind Titanic, the guy who did the Avatar movies. But back before then, he was also really well known. He did Terminator, both the first 2. He did Aliens. Yeah. He did The Abyss. This is a guy who's bent on spectacle.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not going to lie, I don't think his strongest suits are character building when there's nothing else going on.
Or even script. I really don't think that's his thing. You don't need a lot of script for action films.
No, and Avatar, the script is pretty bare.
Right.
And even in Terminator, it's pretty bare bones until you actually get into the action sequences.
Right, right.
So this movie, when I was watching it, became 2 films. The first half is all set up.
Right.
The second half, for me, became the movie I was actually interested in watching.
Right.
Which was The Sinking of the Titanic.
Right, right.
It occurred to me watching it, I actually didn't know a whole lot about the Titanic. And as I was digging through and looking, mostly to nitpick, because I'm a pain in the neck. And I was like, well, what did he get wrong?
Yeah, so I feel the same. Almost, if you're going to make me sit for 3.5 hours of a film, it better be perfect.
And honestly, in full defense to James Cameron, that last half of that movie, that's a spectacular movie.
Yeah.
That is a great film.
It is. The effects are amazing.
The effects are amazing. You feel the dread in most of what's going on. Yeah. And I felt for the people, but not the 2 I'm supposed to be feeling for.
No.
So
I didn't find them very appealing. I just didn't.
We're going to loop back to that.
Yeah, and they talk about them being like the greatest love affair. Like even still years later, people think they're really in love. I don't know. And I don't know about you. I had to check it out, but I thought Kate Winslet looked older. Like noticeably older, almost like robbing the cradle older than Leonardo DiCaprio, who has a youthful look. But she was actually a year younger than he was. She was
younger than me. Yeah, she was
a year younger than Leo in the film. Oof. I was surprised. I thought Leo looked I thought he almost looked too young for her. Maybe it's part of her character also. She's obviously more sort of stuffy. Maybe. Dressed more.
I'm just going to say it. I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio.
No,
I never
really
liked
either.
him.
I do think he's not a bad actor. In this film, too, I thought a lot of the acting was actually a little...
This isn't bad. He's not bad in this.
No, he's not bad. Right.
He's okay.
I thought others were...
Others were worse.
Worse, I do, yeah. I thought even she was a little phony, I thought. And I don't like seeing that.
The standouts to me were Bernard Hill, who I adore as King Theoden in Lord of the Rings. Right. And so, watching... This is the only other project I've seen him in, so I was really excited to see him. David Warner, I love in everything, no matter what. He was
also very good, yeah.
And Bill Paxton, I get so stoked for.
Bill Paxton is always great, very natural. Even little scenes like when she's telling that story and it cuts back and it shows them all just listening like little kids, like at the foot of a master storyteller, you know. That was cute.
And Victor Garber was actually the surprise for me.
Victor Garber was very good too. Very sympathetic, yeah. And wasn't he also? He was Jesus Christ in Godspell?
Oh, he might have been.
Pretty sure he was, yeah, in the musical. It was just so hard to believe. I think he is, yeah. I kept looking at him thinking, wait, where do I know him from? And I didn't look it up. I should have, but I'm almost 100% positive he was Jesus Christ in the Godspell movie.
So, Titanic, the film, is about it's about the boarding of the ship Titanic, which, if you didn't know, sunk. In the year 1912, actually April 14th, I think.
Into the 15th.
Into the 15th. So, we're recording this on April 12th.
Oh, wow.
Is that crazy?
That is crazy. I mean, that was not intentional.
And
that's why I couldn't make it last week. I said we gotta postpone it.
That's closer. Funny. That's funny. The story mostly follows the 2 main characters. Kate Winslet plays Rose, who is upper class, aboard the ship with her mother and fiance, played by Billy Zane, who is the worst human being alive.
And even that, it was just like, could you make this guy any worse? Like, why don't they just show him strangling a puppy? You know what I mean? Like, really, every cliche, every bad thing. He even pushes that kid. He grabs that little kid and pretends he's the dad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Then he just puts the kid back on a ship that is supposedly going to sink.
Yeah.
I mean, God, just make this guy such a villain.
And
all he needs is that mustache and the leer, twirling. The twirling mustache. Yeah.
So she's attempts suicide while she's on the Titanic and is stopped by Jack, played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Even that, I got to tell you, that's another class thing. I'm looking at this film. It's in the first hour, half hour maybe or whatever, when she's about to jump off the ship. And I'm like, wait, and even Leonardo DiCaprio says that to her. Like she's got this great life.
What do you have? What do you possibly have that's worth so bad?
Yeah. You're gonna kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to. She even says like same conversation, stilted conversations, the same crowd, party after party, millions and millions of dollars, beautiful ships. Like, oh, poor her.
Yeah.
So they should have had the band playing her off,
Oof.
with the violins.
She's okay. Yeah. Well, so okay. The main thrust of the first half of this film is Jack is lower class and Rose is upper class, and they're both supposedly in love with each other after him stopping her from committing suicide. Yeah. And the first half of this is class warfare. Don't get me wrong. I love a good class warfare story.
Right.
I love hating on the upper class.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
It's so funny. But, again, I also think, could you imagine ever a film where, like, maybe he learned something from her? Like, does any lower class person ever learn from the upper class? Like, can't we learn something from them?
The movie was called Trading Places.
Yeah. Well, did we, though?
A little.
No, because the rich people also learned from, Dan Aykroyd. And, well, Dan Aykroyd, no, not from him, from Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was still, like, because every film, and they're always made by these really rich people.
Oh, yeah.
Do they hate themselves? They must, because they always make it like where...
They know that we hate them.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio is, of course, is that fun, he doesn't even care where he works, doesn't care about the dollar, doesn't care about money.
Whatever.
But he's got to be the guy that all the rich people should emulate, right? But, I mean, is he creating anything? Is he doing anything? They're on the Titanic. That was not built by paupers,
No.
I don't know. I understand, and it certainly has mass appeal because the majority of the people are not the wealthy.
Correct.
Right? Of course. And it's easy to hate on the wealthy. But sometimes you have to think, how much we have from the wealthy? Like, how much they give us? How much we take for granted even? I don't know. We don't like to think about it because it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's easy to hate them. But I thought, even this movie, oh, come on. Like,
I did think they went overboard.
Yeah, a little too much. And I'm okay with a good, let's hate the rich. I like films like that too. We all do. And I'm not rich by any means. So it's easy to hate them. But I also thought, oh my gosh, it's like, give us a break with this.
So my biggest issue with the first half of this is it's very simply written. As we touched on,
it is.
Cameron is not a master at character work.
No.
So really, it does nail every cliche in the book, especially period cliches. Period films were really big in the 90s right then.
Yeah.
And so were the Return of the Disaster films. So this movie's kind of like this weird blend where it's like the first half is like they're trying to appeal to like the rom-coms and the period films, and the second half is a big disaster film like kind of like in like Independence Day, like that style where it's like this is huge disaster.
And that's where he's at his most comfortable.
Oh yeah,
and you feel it. It's like you said, it's two different films. One is a master class in disaster, and the other's
a disaster in master class.
yeah, exactly.
But that being said, I don't want to be I don't want to be totally unkind because there's some stuff that I really actually did enjoy. Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
You didn't like her?
She was okay. I just thought a little too cliche.
I agree with her being cliche.
I forgot who was supposed to play her too, and I thought she might have been better. I
remember reading that too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but I thought it might have been better.
I liked her so much because I read into her after Margaret Brown.
Yeah. I know. I wish they had
awesome.
Had her, and she wasn't heavy or overweight. That she's always portrayed in films for some reason.
No, she was. However, the character that Kathy Bates plays in this film became known as the unsinkable Molly Brown. She survived the sinking of the Titanic, as is shown in the film, and famously on one of the lifeboats, made the seamen attached to their ship turn around and go back for survivors.
Yeah. That was important. She seemed like a very principled woman.
Yes.
I just thought they almost make her seem like maybe it was true, but she, in every film depiction, she's always looked down upon by the class. The upper class.
She's new money.
Yeah, she's new money, nouveau rich, and she's like just a simpleton. Doesn't deserve to be there. The women are all about to get up. Like let's get out of here. Here she comes. And then she's so stupid, she doesn't even get that they're dissing her.
I never took it as that she was stupid. I took it as she
knew. She probably knew. Yeah. Right. But she didn't care. She went right along with it.
Even if that didn't, the problem with any film that's taking something like this isn't like Tombstone. It's not even like Butch Cassidy. There's records of these people.
Right.
We know, and like good records.
And photos. We can even look at them to see how well they're depicting them.
Correct. And so that's the trouble with this film, is you're taking, or any kind of Titanic film really, is you're automatically going to take images of some of these guys, some of these people who died on this ship, and then you have to figure out how you're going to play them. So
that's a great point. And just to interject a second, I've talked to you about this privately, but the movie Pocahontas, the Disney film, that everyone loved, I told you about that guy. They made
Yes.
Governor Ratcliffe, maybe because of his name, Ratcliffe. It really was Ratcliffe.
Mm-hmm.
They made him the villain in the Pocahontas film. And in real life, that poor guy was so nice to the Indians, the local Powhatan Indians.
Mm-hmm.
He actually got criticized by the settlers, by the colonists, for giving them food during the starving time. We don't even have enough to feed ourselves, and you're bartering with the natives, giving them food. And then he was, it's really disgusting, but he was skinned alive by the Powhatan Indians, and his skin was thrown onto a fire in front of him. So there's no coming back from that. And then he was burned alive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he's the bad guy in the Disney version.
Well, that's Disney.
Right, I know, but like you just said, the point is, these are real people. We can easily Google them today and say, wait, because I wanted to not like Governor Ratcliffe. And I'm like, wait, this guy was actually a really nice guy. Why'd they make him such a bad guy?
Well, and the film experiences some of that here, primarily with J. Bruce Ismay is the big one.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, he was White Star Line. That's the company that built the Titanic.
Right.
Their director. So he was kind of like the biggest big shot who survived the Titanic.
Yeah.
This film...
And not really nobly.
No. This film and many others make a point of pointing out that he... Almost like he did something wrong by surviving.
Right.
And even when he got back to New York, he was treated terribly.
Right,
for
he had a hard
life.
time. Yeah.
From every account that I can find about the way he took off, the way he left, was he thought there was no one else left in that area.
Right, he didn't know.
So the way that he got off that ship was...
completely innocent.
Yeah, he was surviving. And
there were a couple other men who did the same thing, where they were just told, they had no idea, and they were just told, come on, get on the ship, get on. They were told, and let's be honest, maybe they thought twice, maybe they didn't.
I would have gotten.
But I would have gotten on too. I mean, if you're being told, you're assuming, maybe not, honestly, but why would you argue? Who's really going to argue? No, I'm going to stay on and drown.
But this film, and James Cameron went on record to say afterward that he's like, he knew that he was doing him a disservice in this film. Yeah. But he also said, I'm giving the people what they expect. They expect this guy to be the villain, so I'm going to give that to him. Right. The same comes true with the other characters. Bernard Hill is the captain, Edward John Smith, who actually was meant to retire directly after the ship landed. So, and then you have to pick a way to play him. There's multiple...
I didn't think he was entirely unsympathetic.
No,
he looked like he felt terrible. Him. Yeah, I did too. Yeah. You could feel it, and he was pressured, about going faster even. And I think there was some truth to that,
rumor.
Right? Oh, was that a rumor?
It's a rumor.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
One of the passengers, as I understand it, overheard the captain being told, that they had to keep pace, and that is true. We're going to get into the historical accuracy of the actual Titanic later, if we have the time. Yeah. But there were characters. My point is, my biggest problem with the film actually was I found myself so invested and interested, part in my research, but even the way the characters were played, I was so interested in all the characters that were real, these real people. Why did you make up these two that I have to care about?
I know. Oh.
Because I don't. I
agree. And you know what? But maybe you're not the average film goer because you actually looked into the Titanic.
Maybe.
Maybe other people see it almost not as just a fictionalized version of something they're not even really as interested in.
And the time period for this is interesting too. So the Titanic wreckage was found in 1985. Right. So a little over a decade before this film came out. The Titanic became James Cameron's baby. That was huge. Even relatively recently, the Titan disaster from a couple years ago, that submarine. Yeah. James Cameron had a lot to say about that too, because he went through all the safety stuff. He's like, the way that happened, there were safeguards. Right. The point is, he went into this very research. This was a project that he cared a lot about. Yeah. And when that film, when the film came out, and when he was doing all the effort to go into it, he wanted it to be as accurate a portrayal of what actually happened as had ever been put to film.
Not necessarily with the people.
Yeah, with the ship.
Right. Right. And he did. Well, even at the time, he didn't know that the ship broke in 3 places. So he did show it breaking into 2, which was not really 100% sure until 85. They saw that it did break into. Yep. Then they found out it actually broke into 3 places, which he couldn't have known at the time. No. Because that was discovered later.
Well, that even helped kind of put together what happened to the staircase. Yeah. When they were filming that too. Yeah. Again, that's not super important. Anyway.
Not important, but you know what is funny though is that the staircase was actually bigger in the film than it was at the time.
That's funny.
And it was because the average male height at the time was 5'7", 5'8".
Oh, really?
Yeah. Average height, yeah. And it's obviously changed in the 100+ years since then. So it's kind of interesting. It said the men today, if they made it the way it would have been then, the men would have looked way too big. Huh. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
There's
a lot of really interesting things, just from something over 100 years old. You know?
That's why I did so much looking into this, is because I found myself genuinely fascinated by the story of what actually happened.
It is an amazing story.
It's terrible.
It's a horrible tragedy, yeah. I don't know if it's always been depicted fairly. Like, I don't know if
I
it
don't think
was
so.
just like, because it's unsinkable, we don't have to worry. I mean, it was considered unsinkable, but I don't know if it was so much arrogance as they portray in the film depictions of it.
I've done a lot of reading that says that was exaggerated too.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they were probably confident, but I don't know if they were arrogant about it necessarily. There's a difference.
The drive of the film for the first half there kind of, I understand that the job that James Cameron set out to do was almost impossible. It's create these characters that you know are doomed.
Right.
Make you care, and then kill one of them in a disaster that everyone knows is going to happen. The question is not, is the ship going to sink? You know it is. Yeah. It's the most famous sunken ship in history.
And still you have hope. Even though you're watching it, you know what's gonna happen. You're hoping because you don't know exactly. They're fictional. Can they both survive? Fictional film, they could.
I think I kind of came in. So this is the bad part because you watched it in '97. I watched it in 2026. Right. So I already knew I'm the king of the world. I'll never let go. Like I already knew Jack died, right. And I knew how. I lived through the era of internet discourse where everyone was like, "Oh, they could have both fit on the door." Like
I know.
I lived through all that. Yeah. So before I walked into this, I knew all that. Right. So I think that was kind of to the detriment of the film, where I never had any moment of like, oh man, are they gonna make it? I was just like, when does he drown? Like,
when I first saw it, I didn't know because who would know? It's a fictional character; he could survive. And but I remember even when I saw it in '97, thinking, why does he just get on the door with her? There seems to be room, and they could huddle together for some warmth. She's shivering. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I thought that right away.
They showed you when they both tried to get on it how it like bobbed. Like
it bobbed, but I also thought if they positioned themselves just right, that would kind of prevent it from bobbing. You distribute the weight evenly on that door.
James Cameron has gone on record to say it doesn't matter. The story said that he died. So
yeah, yeah. You can argue it all you want, right? Yeah, and he had to die.
And in his defense, it's his movie, so let him have it.
Yeah. But again, just to get back to the class thing, I even made a note. Like the people who died, most of the very wealthy that we know about, like you can even go on Wikipedia and read about every wealthy person that was known and how they died, and they all died bravely. I mean, they really did. You had John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus. And that story was just barely touched on. You see the couple in the bed together with the water coming in.
That broke me more than anything else.
That was horrible. That's a true story. I mean, that story should have been in its own film. Because this was a couple who were together for, I don't remember exactly how many years. I did look it up. I think 48 years or so. And they had 7 children. I think one died, so they had 6 children they raised. And they had always been together. It's a real success story. And he founded Macy's. And then when they were told, you can leave, she could leave. Imagine a woman in those days saying, no, we've spent our whole life together, and that's how we'll die together. Yeah, I'm going to die side by side. And that is how they did it. I mean, that's a great story in itself.
So I think the biggest thing about Class of Titanic, not just this movie, but just historically why this became such a huge question, is the number of passengers who died. Yeah. The percentages. Yeah. I actually do you have the stats? Because I got them.
Yeah, I have them here too somewhere. Not percentage, just the number.
So the number of passengers who died, not crew, is about 832. Right. 39% of the first class passengers died. 58% of second class. 76% of third class passengers died. Right. Yep. Now it's not because they were locked downstairs. Right. Because that's how it's depicted in the film, and that's totally bogus. Right. That didn't happen. Right. The big problem, honestly, and this was one of the many things I said to my dad after I watched the movie, and I blurted all this out to him for about 45 minutes at 11 o'clock at night. The staff, like the crew, their responsibility, there were a couple assigned to the first class, there were some assigned to second class, there were a few assigned to the third class, but there were predominantly more third class than anybody else. Right. There was the language barrier. That was a big issue. And they were also mid-panic. Right. So when the crew came down and basically said, put on your life vest and get upstairs, get up onto the deck, not only did the third class not really know how, like what routes to take to get up there because they weren't up there, they didn't understand what was being told to them, and there were so many of them that they just couldn't get out. Right, yep. So that, I think, is what
mass confusion, and it's a shame.
Mass hysteria, too, once people actually realized what was going on. Yeah, yeah. The first couple minutes, people figured, like, oh, it's fine. Actually, people went back inside because it was so cold.
Right, I know. Imagine that. Some people went back into their beds, and they assumed this wasn't going to be a big deal. And again, it all came from the language barrier, or partly from the language barrier.
In some cases, yeah. Yeah,
what a shame. And some of them, as hard as it is to believe, I read some stories where some of the people didn't know what they were doing. Like, they actually thought they were attacking them. These were lower-class people who maybe were attacked in their homelands, Maybe didn't know what to expect. Were they going to throw us overboard? I don't know.
It's a sad story. I think that's why that is the chief reason that the Titanic as a story has been done so many times. We had the technology now to do it better, but the story tugs at people because of how many lives were lost and how preventable the whole thing was.
Yeah. I think even at the time, I might be wrong, I didn't research it, but I think at the time, I think I've read this before, that it wasn't even the greatest loss, like maritime disaster.
It's not.
Of people, right?
That was I believe it was a Chinese ship that was.
And still today, obviously, it's been surpassed, but it's just, for some reason, this one really tugs at the heart, you know? Yeah, and I mentioned this too, of the 1,500 people who died, roughly, during the sinking, about 110 were women. Only 2 female crew members. So, it's class, it's also gender. Big issue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I think that still holds. I don't know if feminists are really fighting for that, but I think that still holds, like women and children first. It should. I mean, I still think that's the noble thing to do, but I don't know if men would act as nobly today.
I don't know if it's been an issue since then.
Yeah, like, I don't know either. I didn't look into it as current.
Because most of the maritime disasters that occur now are usually naval, like warfare.
Right. I'm curious though.
Part of the loss of life too, and again, this is back to like the real story. This is somewhat if they do it okay in the movie. Number one, the amount of lifeboats on the Titanic were actually above what was required for ships at the time.
Right.
They were not loaded properly.
That was a big issue.
Part of that was...
They did hint at that. Well,
they did hint on that.
They said
that, they flat out say, hey...
why are they letting only 12 in a boat that holds 70?
Yes.
Or 60, whatever,
68, I believe, was the capacity for
crazy,
the ships.
Yeah, and a lot of the ships did go that way, which is crazy.
Part of it was an understanding of orders. So when the captain gave the order for women and children first, it was interpreted different ways. Some people thought women and children only. Other people thought women and children first, and then if there's leftover seats in the boat,
then
get the men
get
over.
on, right, yep. And some men did get on because they saw these boats being lowered with...
only 12 people.
Right, a bunch of empty seats. Yeah, why not?
So all that is to say...
And so much confusion, like you said. They didn't know what was going on the other side.
Correct.
You know, was this it? Was everyone off already? How do you know?
With that said, like, let's actually talk about like how that comes out in the film. We talked about historical bits a lot. On a technical level, this movie's a masterpiece. It looks great.
It does. The only thing I have a complaint with, as far as how it looks, I don't know if you felt the same way.
Is it the CG ship?
Not even that. I think that wasn't bad.
Okay.
I was able to overlook that. I mean, it's 97. And I don't know if they've gotten better necessarily, or maybe they just have eliminated this, but the CGI breath. I would rather they just didn't even put the breath in. Because when I start to notice the breath, I start to notice it doesn't look real, and then I start to fixate on the breath. Like, just leave it out.
I didn't look at that.
Yeah. But if you do, it's almost like if you hear a noise in the background that's kind of annoying, you start to fixate on that noise against everything else.
That's funny.
Once I started to notice the breath, and one of it was like, and then I started looking, I'm like, well, how come there's no breath coming out of this guy? This guy's talking right here in the water, and there's no breath. I'm not showing breath. So I don't know if it was a mistake in the editing.
That's funny.
But I just thought, I don't know. They hadn't perfected it yet. And I don't know, like you said, I don't even know if they have at this point. But in 97, it might have been, I didn't look it up, but it might have been one of the first films where I actually saw breath added in to depict how cold it was, how frigid. And I understand what they're going for, but then, I don't know, I find it almost distracting. And, movies before then, actors would shudder, they would hold themselves. You'd understand that they're freezing, but they didn't add that fake breath. I even thought, why didn't Cameron just lower the temperatures in there? I mean, I know it would have been uncomfortable, it would have been cold. Yeah, why not just do that, right? That's real commitment. You're going to be in a film, lower the temperature to 32, whatever.
James Cameron actually did, like, in the scene where Jack and Rose go back into the ship, I even forget why they went back in there.
I heard,
too, to get back up. Yeah. He had the water, like, really, really cold.
I heard that he did. And then Leonardo DiCaprio's reaction was real.
Yeah, when he's in there, like, swearing and cursing about how cold the water is, that's real.
That's another thing I didn't like. And I don't know, again, I didn't research this. I don't know when profanity became certain words even became common usage.
Oh.
There's a lot of profanity, really unnecessary too. It almost seemed forced in some scenes.
I would have taken the swearing over the PG-13 nude scene.
Yeah, again.
Because everyone knows that, because that's also really famous. But the part of me that's like...
Also could have been done so much more discreetly. We've seen it done in other films so much better.
The part of me that watched the film and is like the annoyed... like critic is like, we know the ship's gonna sink. Can we just get to the boat?
Yeah.
And there was this dad would pass by occasionally, and he's like, "How are we at?" And I was like, "The boat's still up.
Yeah.
The boat's still up.
Yeah.
Like we're still
waiting." Yeah. And looking at your watch.
It's terrible because I'm waiting so long, like excited. Like when they hit the iceberg, I said, "Thank God."
And then
which is terrible.
I know. I feel the same way. But then you look at your watch, like. I still got 2.5 hours.
I know. And I looked at when I checked the runtime, I'm like, how can there possibly be this much movie left?
Yep.
But like I said, those are the best parts of the movie. That's when it lights up for me.
I feel the same way. Of course, that's the climax essentially. But it drags on. Maybe that it doesn't even drag. It's well done.
Yeah, it's
but
good.
You do look at Trevor came in at one point, my son, and he even said, "How much longer is this going to go on?" I was like, and I paused it. You can see how much is left. I was like,
"Yep,
the ship's already sinking."
Yep,
I know. We got like 3/4 of the film left. Woo!
But that's why people are there. I mean, I get it, but like that's why you're there. You're there to watch it sink.
Did you hear supposedly from when the ship hits the hits the iceberg in the film? It's actual real time.
Yeah.
It took 2.5 hours or whatever it was. Is how long is in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was interesting, but I don't know. Maybe you could have sped it up a little. I didn't need that realism.
I could have. Honestly, if the whole movie was just from the minute they strike the iceberg, I think it would have been fascinating.
Yeah, maybe get rid of the whole first half hour or so.
Just chop the first chunk of it.
Yeah, edit that a little bit. Yep.
A little?
Yeah, well, a lot, yeah.
There are some scenes I actually rolled my eyes. Like, if I have to see one more upper class woman get put up in a corset to demonstrate how upper class stuffiness, I can't. I can't see that scene one more time.
I know.
I'm so tired of that scene.
It's another cliched scene, yeah. I agree.
Let's talk about the framing device for a minute.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on the framing device of this film?
What do you mean, like
the older Rose, like the whole finding the Titanic? Aside from the fact that it brings Bill Paxton in.
Yeah.
Because I lit up like Chris.
Yeah,
I'm like, thank God, Bill Paxton's here.
I know. As soon as I heard his voice, it's the first voice you hear, I think, in the film, right? I like it. I don't know. I mean, it's the way the film was written, so you can't get it out. But I didn't really even care at all for the whole Gloria Stewart character. I thought maybe it would have been better if it was done through letters or... And honestly, I don't know how you felt, but at the end, she throws away a $600 million necklace, whatever it was. I heard it's like from $250 million to $600 million. She just throws it back into the ocean. I was like, when I saw it at the movies, at the movies, when I saw it in '97, I was like, are you kidding me? You know how many people she could have helped or saved or fed with that one necklace, and she just like cavalierly throws it back into that's where it belongs.
So I get why they
that seems a little selfish.
The framing device. So Bill Paxton is playing essentially James Cameron.
Right. Yeah, he is.
He's obsessed with this. And like those first scenes are important. I think I like the idea because they're for those of you who haven't seen the movie, all 12 of you out there besides me. The film opens up with Bill Paxton and his crew basically like looking for this diamond that ends up being like that's a MacGuffin. Rose ends up with it because her rich fiance gives it to her, and then he spends the entire last third of the movie while the ship is literally sinking out from under them trying to get it.
Yeah. Silly.
Anyway.
Plot device.
So it is a plot device. Yeah. But as they're going through and they're looking for this
heart of the ocean.
The heart of the ocean. They come across a sketch pad in which there's a sketch of Rose. Long story short, they get Rose, who's now like in her 90s, onto the ship so she can help them find it, help tell the story. Like she's a survivor of the Titanic, so she talks to them about it. This accomplishes a couple of things. Number one, reintroduces the Titanic to an audience that we're within like 2 decades of finding the wreck. So we know way more about it now than we did. This leads to them showing her a computer simulation of here's what happened as if she wasn't there. Here's what happened when it sank, which helps the viewers as it's happening in real time. Oh, that's when putting it together. Right. It also helps us out because back then, the understanding of how the ship ended up in 2 pieces was fuzzy. Right. There wasn't really that understanding, and like even how it went down, they weren't sure. Some of the accounts that survivors had of like, hey, it came up out of the water. Right. People were like, no, it didn't. It couldn't have. Right? Yeah, right. It did. Yeah. And this film shows you why. Which is really crazy. Yeah. Even when it's depicted, you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, terrifying. Imagine being there. Terrifying. I will say he did that. They did that very well. Great. I even felt the passengers falling and banging the metal rails and stuff. Oh. The guy who falls into the propeller. Oh yeah. Yeah, like well done. It looked pretty real. It's CGI, I'm sure, but it looked pretty real. It made me interested. So like years ago, my family went to a museum in Connecticut actually that had the Titanic, and I was too young. I didn't really care. We're going back there in a couple of weeks, and I told Dad, I was like, I want to go to the museum again because now I know. Film, yeah, right? I want to. You're looking at a whole different perspective. I was going somewhere. I like that about films also when they make you research them. Like films are great for that.
any film, Last of the Mohicans, you start to look into that time period, and the Titanic, you start to look at that actual disaster. You and I both were looking up actual historical YouTube videos or,
the
stories
thing
about it.
The thing where the framing device falls apart for me, and this is maybe a nitpick on my part. If I was, let's say, Bill Paxton, and I brought this lady on so she could tell me about how the Titanic sunk, I don't care about whether or not you were interested in this guy.
So did you guys do it? I know.
I don't care.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. Yeah.
That's just.
But it's for the film, of course. And they're sitting there riveted.
Yeah.
I would have said, look, I'm really a busy guy. Can you speed this up?
Yeah. I'm like, listen. Yeah. This is a lot of money.
And she wasn't likable. Like, there's even when she starts to tell it, and he goes, "Can you tell us?" And she's like, "Are you gonna let me tell my story or not?"
Yeah.
I was like, that was an unnecessary.
I was
line.
excited to see her because I knew her from she was in The Invisible Man
in the
30s.
I know, isn't it
so
crazy?
I was like, oh, that's so nice that she was still doing it. Like, that's cool.
In fact, she's the only one in the film who was actually alive when the Titanic sank.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she was only a year or so old. But
that being said, though, I still didn't care.
I know, I didn't either.
And then the end of the movie, she like Goose's dog tags the heart of the ocean directly back into the sea.
I know.
I was like, girlie, what are you doing?
And what was he going for? Because it shows her standing up on the rail. I was like, wait, are we supposed to think she's going to jump off?
Then she like goes into bed.
Because they showed that in the beginning, right? Because that she was doing that in the very beginning. Remember, she got on the rail and she was going to jump off. And I thought, are we supposed to think like, no, don't do it, Rose?
You know what's terrible with
You're
my
only
job?
100.
With my job, I'm a physical therapist assistant. With my job, when she got up in the room, my first thought was, "Oh gosh, oh no, oh no,
don't do this." No. Even stepping backwards off of it.
I know. I was like,
something.
Oh no.
I know. You're 100 years old. Yeah, and then she just dies in her bed, as they said earlier. Remember, he said that someday she'll die peacefully in her sleep.
Which I'm gonna say this too. Okay. How do you interpret the ending of this film?
I don't know.
Like when she enters the grid.
Everyone's there.
What is that to you? What do you think of that?
Silly. It's very silly.
Okay.
And again, like we don't know anything else about her life. She has a daughter.
Yes.
So what went on in her life? Nothing. She pined for this
somebody she knew for 2
vagabond, a guy she knew for less than 48 hours, really, or she knew him for 48 hours, but they weren't together, like I said, for 48 hours. And she was that in love that really almost 100 years later, because she's 101 at the end, I think, or 100.
When I finished the film, I came out and I told my dad about the closing shot, because again, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Everyone else in the family was in bed, and I had to talk about this to somebody. And I said to Dad, I was like, I have a question for you, Dad.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're on, I'm like, let's just say, like, you're in a horrible, horrible disaster on this terrible, terrible ship.
Right.
And like this, it's awful.
Yeah. And
you're traumatized by it. I was like, I have a question. Would you, A, get on a ship back in the middle of the ocean to go check out the wreck?
Right.
Or B.
Great point. Yeah.
I'm like, secondary. I'm like, when you die, do you think your afterlife looks like that ship?
Yeah.
And Dad goes, yeah, fair point.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing,
it was so
too.
Silly.
She has a husband. She has kids. Or had. I'm like, and you spent your entire life just waiting for this again?
This guy again, welcoming you. And
just Leonardo DiCaprio,
is your husband also
really?
on the ship, or your children? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Very weird.
I get what they're going for. For me, the framing device felt like more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah, I agree. Very silly.
I just didn't...
He had it in his mind, and he wanted to do it that way, and he did,
Yeah.
And he was right. I mean, financially, it certainly benefited
You can't argue with $1.85 million.
No, the success of the film is, it's inarguable. But for film critics and people who really enjoy film, you look at it, you're like, man, it's dumb.
People liked it, though.
And we're supposed to cheer at the end when we see him.
Do we cheer?
Jack reach out, and she takes his hand. I was like, oh, they were the two least likable characters in the whole film.
Again, part of it, I freely admit, is bias. I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio that much. I don't care for Kate Winslet, and I was.
But
bored.
I can still appreciate him in a film. You know what I mean? I don't care for him either, and I don't really care for her. She does nothing for me. And I've heard men dissing her. They're saying they couldn't find a better looking. I think she's attractive, but they were like they couldn't find a better looking woman.
Yikes! Jeepers cats.
I know that's what they were saying, and I was like, no, I think she's pretty. But some of these guys younger than me saying like, yeah, I don't know, I didn't think she was that attractive.
Don't come at her for her looks. Jeepers cats.
No, I know, but they're like, well, because he's like risking everything, getting back on the ship. He's gonna die for her. He's known her for less than 48 hours, and she's just,
That's gross.
And she wasn't very nice. That's the thing. She was sort of nice to him, but even that was silly. Like she goes from being so stuffy, and then she's like a little schoolgirl running around, like hiding from the Lovejoy. The guy was gonna shoot them. Yeah. I don't know. It just was all over the place. Yeah, I think it was Lovejoy, something like that. It was just very silly, wasn't it?
It wasn't
like hiding in and out of like staterooms
Yeah.
and like they run into the wrong stateroom and it's like very silly.
It wasn't.
Like, what is this doing in this film? Like it was almost like an absurdist comedy for a few moments there.
A couple minutes where I'm like, what are we watching?
Yeah, I thought they were gonna start running out of different rooms, peeking out of the doors.
Like
you know the way they do that, like Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it was such. They should have played that music. You know,
I would have died.
with the guy. Oh, that would have been
terrible.
hilarious. With that guy chasing him around with a gun.
There were definitely moments where I'm like, what movie is this?
Yeah,
What's happening?
Yeah, did he lose his way there?
And
then again, as we've said, once it hits the iceberg, it gets to be. It's a James Cameron film. It's a good film. You know, it's a solid film.
So I'm divided on James Cameron's work in general. I do like his pre-Titanic work a lot. I love The
Some of my
Abyss. I
favorite
love
films.
Aliens. I love
same
Terminator
ones you
films.
just mentioned. Yep, Terminator. Yep.
I don't love his post-Titanic work.
Yeah, no, I don't really either. I don't know if he just got too full of himself.
I think he got comfortable, but I mean, if you're churning out this much money out of a film, I'm not gonna tell him, hey, you're doing something wrong. Clearly, he's not to some people.
Right. To me, it's the Stephen King syndrome, which we've talked about. You know, when he had an editor in the beginning, and a guy would actually say, you know, maybe trim 5,000 words, you know, or 100 pages, whatever, you know, and then he got so big that
no one told him no.
No, you couldn't tell him no. And I would read his books faithfully for years. I've since stopped, but back then I would read them and I'd be like, these scenes are completely it's like just a tangent he's on that has nothing to do with the plot.
He just go off the rails.
Yeah, like boy, he needs an editor. I remember, I never would read his books initially saying this guy needs an editor. I hung on every word, and then I was just like, I don't know. So who's gonna tell James Cameron? You don't know what you're doing.
I feel the same way actually about Robert Zemeckis, where I feel like he gets so caught up with spectacle. What can I do? What can I show them?
Yeah.
That he loses the plot, literally.
Right.
And that's why I think this film suffers the most from. And again, I can't even say it's a bad film. I can just say it's not for me.
Right. True, right, exactly, right. It's just not my... Even in Quentin Tarantino. Like, you don't have to make part 1 and part 2. Like, you know, get an edit and make it one good film. Make it a 3-hour film even. I'd rather that than have to wait another, year or 6 months or whatever to see the second part. I don't know. They all seem like very self-indulgent. I
think, too. And, like, so this isn't a problem only for this because, like, for this time period. Steven Spielberg went through the same thing in 1979 when he directed 1941.
Right.
No one told him no.
Right.
Because he'd been so successful.
Right, yeah.
And that film was a lesson to him.
And
Somebody has to tell me no.
It had to be, right, because it flopped.
Yeah.
You know? So the people have to tell him no. That's what it is.
Same thing for George Lucas in the prequel trilogy.
Right.
Nobody told him no.
I agree, right.
Once you have enough runaway success, if you don't have enough reins on you, or if you get too caught up in what you have been able to do, you can very easily put yourself in these situations where you're just making overblown, basically circus shows. Yeah. Tim Burton's the same way.
Yeah. And if the people do like that, and they know that, so even if you tell them, the people are still going to come see it.
And honestly, it's really hard in an industry driven by money. Who are we to argue with what's making it?
Right, exactly.
Is what it boils down to. You can disagree with it. I do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the box office is the box office, and that's the number.
And the only thing you can do is just vote with your money. You just don't go. I won't see these movies anymore.
Yep.
But it's funny again talking about James Cameron and his cast prior to Titanic. Did you even notice? I made a note because Jeanette Goldstein.
I saw that she was in there.
Yeah, and she's not even given a name. I don't think, right? She's just the Irish mother with the 2 little kids, which was really a tragic scene.
Yes.
And at the end, she's reading them a bedtime story about Tir na Nog, which is an Irish fairy tale, and she's and I guess presumably she just dies in the stateroom with her 2 little kids. And I was looking at her, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Jeanette Goldstein, and she was in
Aliens.
Yep.
And the only other thing I know she was in was
She was Vasquez, which is hard to believe.
I know.
She's Vasquez in Aliens, and then she's this Irish mom. And she plays those characters really well. She's played multiple different... She was also the vampire mom in Near Dark with Bill Paxton also.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeanette Goldstein, actually, we have to talk about Aliens at some point, because Jeanette Goldstein's Vasquez dictated actually a lot of how it turned out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that however you want.
Yeah. Well, she was a good character for sure.
There is...
I also hated Lewis. Do you remember Lewis? You probably don't even know who he is.
Who's Lewis?
He's the guy who was with Bill Paxton. He's like white...
Oh.
He's just disgusting.
I don't even care.
Why is he in there?
See, I don't even remember.
He's just gross. He's overweight, and they sort of play on that. And he's also cursing up in front of her, in front of Gloria Stewart when they first meet her.
The one thing, he's the one who shows her the here's what happened to the Titanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, to me, I'm like, that's distasteful. That's like showing somebody who was like on the Twin Towers.
Yeah,
like,
here's how everyone you love died.
Like,
yeah. And he's like, I don't know if he was chewing at the time, but he was just very glib about it. And then he's cursing. He's adding in curse. And I thought, why come nobody in these films, like, why doesn't she, this woman who's, very stuffy from the 1920s, 1912s.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she say, excuse me, this language? I just thought that was also very crass. Like, I don't know why he stuck that in. Another stock character.
I don't know.
Let me get this guy he's a computer guy, so he's also has to be sort of clueless.
They do a lot. Like, it's like I said.
Can't there be classy computer guys?
Yeah, they're called stockbrokers.
yeah. But I mean, every movie, like Jurassic Park, remember Nedry? Every guy's like the expert. Mm-hmm. He's obnoxious. He's eating all the time.
That's starting to go away.
Is it?
So even
about time.
So that's the issue. Like, stuff runs in cycles. At the time, that's where computer nerds were thought of.
Yeah.
Now computer nerds run the world.
Yeah,
so
I know. Right. So they're finally Now they're afraid they're gonna get sued if they portray them that way. I didn't care for that.
Other stuff, moments that stuck with me. The ship's band.
Oh yeah,
stuck with me.
And that's also true. I mean, that was great. That was well done in the film. Mm-hmm. And they did play "Nearer My God to Thee" as people in the lifeboats said they heard that.
I cried.
How powerful was that?
And like, this movie didn't make me cry about anything that like it invented, but like the stuff.
Yeah.
That, and I told Dad too, like the scene where like the dad is loading his kids onto the boat and he goes, "It's just for a little while."
I know. That's a real line.
I know. I'm like that. That's terrible.
I know. And some of the lines that were heard by passengers on the lifeboats are very, very touching.
Some stuff is
be a brave girl for mommy.
Yes.
Like imagine the dad saying that.
Terrible.
But again, I think of the dads. I mean, a lot of them. And I look at their ages. A lot of these rich men who died were 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Which was probably a long life back then. Maybe the oldest I saw was like 61. Like, man, that's really not old. You have a lot of life left to live. Mm-hmm. And again, to just stand on a ship waving. Most of them were seen either having a cigarette, talking with other men, or waving goodbye.
Yeah.
That's the last time you're going to see your dad. And a lot of these bodies were never recovered.
Part of the terrible thing too about this is not all. In fact, most of the deaths that occurred here were not just from the drowning. A lot of them froze to death on the surface.
Yeah.
Because the water was it negative? It was.
Well, it was 30? -2, which was
-2 Celsius, right?
Yeah, -2 Celsius. So I think it's 28 degrees, something like that. Yeah, where it should have been ice. Yeah.
So
freezing.
Terrible.
And he even describes it in that one scene when she's gonna. He says, you're gonna.
Yep.
Yeah, he describes when she's gonna jump into the water.
I thought about that.
And I don't think it was even as cold then at that moment. Yeah.
A couple things. They mixed up a couple mix and match, which again, you're telling an event that had a lot of people involved. You're trying to get into such a short period of time. Yeah. One of the guys who was loading, like one of the crewmen who was trying to load the lifeboats, shooting a passenger who was trying to rush the lifeboat and then himself. Right. That is a rumor that did happen. Oh, yeah, that was not him though.
Right.
Murdoch. That was somebody else.
Right. Guy killing himself also, which I don't think really happened either. Do you remember that guy shoots himself?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You're saying one guy shot a passenger also.
He did. Right. Him and then himself.
But then he shoots himself. Yep. Right. Yeah.
Thomas Andrews, played by Victor Garber in this, is the shipbuilder.
Right.
And he's pretty true to how he's remembered.
Yeah. He's a sympathetic character.
Usually, so in the film, he's depicted kind of like ending up in the smoking room, kind of like looking at the pictures of the ship.
That was sad.
The
this
testimony,
was his baby, and he was also obviously grieving for the loss of life, but also for his dream. This was his dream, and here it is, just sinking. It's one iceberg.
The testimonies of passengers that survived said that he spent like his last hours getting as many people out as he could.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and that's why I really, as much as there are parts of this that I laughed at, that I cringed at, that I just went, really, come on. Yeah. There are so many parts of this that I'm like, Cameron and his crew. And this is the film that gave Cameron the reputation of being such a nightmare to work with.
Yeah.
They were trying. They really tried.
Yeah.
And they clearly, they gave it plenty of time. It wasn't like some historical films that I've seen where they ran slipshod all over history.
Right.
They gave it effort. I'll give them that.
And they touched on a few lesser known moments too.
Yes.
That if you're interested, you can look them up and find out about.
And a lot of the stuff that was going to be it left in, that was deleted scenes, which they took out of the film to prevent it from being 4 hours long.
Right.
Which
would have made it almost unwatchable.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's too much.
It was tough enough. So one of the things, another thing I wrote down, which I thought was interesting too, was, so aside from those famous men who did get on, Strauss and Guggenheim and John Jacob Astor, Milton Hershey of the Hershey
Yeah.
fame,
Mm-hmm.
and J.P. Morgan had tickets.
I heard about
Did
that.
you know, I think they made a mention of that or something else I watched about it. It was only like half filled, which apparently was not uncommon for major cruise ships. So it was the Titanic's maiden voyage, and it was still only half filled. And most of the passengers were the lower class, third class citizens. But they said that was common. It was April, it wasn't summer, which was apparently the peak months. So for it to, because you even wonder, like, why would it leave? Like half filled. Even half filled, there wasn't enough room on the lifeboats for everybody.
But again, that was standard.
Or there might have been It was standard. It was. They didn't break any laws at that.
No.
But
they actually had more than they were expecting.
Right,
to
but
have.
the problem again was that they just sent them out without filling them.
Well,
and in that situation, I would have been happy to just stand on or sit on someone's lap or stand, whatever it would have taken, right, to get off.
At the time, the standard procedure for a sinking ship, essentially, or like a ship that had run into trouble, was the lifeboats were meant to be used as a ferry to take passengers off and on and off and on.
Right.
They were never meant to hold the full capacity of the ship. Right. That was the problem.
Right.
And the ships that got there, the Carpathia, was a couple hours too late to save everybody.
And the California was there, and it didn't. They turned off their lights, whatever, and didn't hear the alert.
The story I heard is that the signalman went to bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
can you imagine that? And they could have rescued a lot, if not all.
The Titanic was not even the only ship of that line that suffered tragedy.
Right.
Of that class of ship, the other two that were designed after her. The first one,
the Olympic.
It wasn't quite the same level of damage, but the third one in the line became a hospital ship in World War II.
Yeah.
Or World War I.
It was the Britannic, wasn't it?
Britannic.
They all had end with IC.
Yes.
Olympic and Titanic, maybe something like that.
Yes, you're right.
And and there was one woman. She was an Irish nurse. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did.
She was on all three or all.
The second two.
Two of
them.
Two of them. Right. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. And she survived both.
That poor lady.
Amazing. You can see her picture too online.
So
crazy stuff.
All that is to say, I do think at the end of the day, you should watch this movie.
Yeah.
At least once.
At least, I think you should watch it and let it inspire you to research it, because there are amazing stories, and there's so many entries just on survivors of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Women on the Titanic, passengers on the Titanic. There's so many things on the internet you can research, even on Wikipedia. You type in Titanic, there are so many articles and stories on so many different aspects of it, which are all really kind of fascinating.
This is also a really solid. It's just a solidly done film. Like the casting is good, even if there are some choices I'm not crazy about.
Right.
The money's on the screen. Like, it looks fantastic.
It
the
does.
Score is good. We haven't touched on the score.
Yeah, right. James Horner.
But it's James Horner again, who's always turns out great stuff.
Yeah, he's great.
It's an epic.
Yeah.
And as much as it earns almost all the Oscar noms it got.
Yeah.
I'll say that pretty confidently.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm glad I saw it. I can't watch it again soon.
No.
If I did watch it again, I would unfortunately fast forward to the part where they hit the iceberg.
Oh, yeah, you almost have to.
Because I genuinely, when I was watching the first third of it, I kept thinking, I've seen all this before.
Right.
And again, part of that is, and although I don't know, because you said you had the same thing in 97, to me, I think living in an era where I've seen this done so many times, it almost hurts it, where I'm looking back and I'm like, I have seen this been imitated, or at least versions of this.
I felt that way even in 97, because I had seen A Night to Remember and the original Titanic, and
I even got shades of almost like animated Anastasia, like just that sort of a storyline.
And I think a lot of it again was almost sort of stock characters. A lot of the beginning was very cliche. I said as soon as I heard Fabrizio talking, I was like, this sounds a little silly. And it's funny you mentioned Anastasia. One of the other lines I hated, I wrote down some lines I hated.
Really?
Was that guy Lewis, the computer nerd, confusing Anastasia with anesthesia. I just thought, I cringed. I was like, oh, come on. This guy doesn't know the difference between Anastasia and anesthesia. I mean, he's a computer nerd. I'm sure he's heard the words, right? He's like, oh, she's like that woman, Anesthesia. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
That's poor writing to me, as far as I'm concerned. And I know what they meant, and I believe me, I know, because I've said this to people, they're like, oh, no, but I know what they mean. But I also thought, having Rose say, I'll never let go, right before she lets go, I just thought, I don't know, it was just weird timing with that, like, I'll never let go, Jack. And as he lets him go, we watch him sink. I was like, I know it's a metaphor, sort of, but I don't know. And other people I've talked to said, Oh, I didn't think that at all. I said, I just thought it was like a weird juxtaposition. I'll never let go. Goodbye. And she lets go. And we see him sink away. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
Here's another line, though. See if you know where this line has also been said.
Okay.
One of the last lines that Rose says, speaking of Jack, it's this. He exists now, only in my memory.
I don't
Do you know it? It's so funny.
I don't remember.
I thought that line is exactly the last line of the film The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson.
That's
spoken
insane.
by the little boy at the end as he's looking through the bus as they drive away from The Road Warrior. It shows Mel Gibson's image like standing in the shadows kind of, and the little boy says, he exists now only in my memory.
That's hilarious.
I was like, it's so funny. They say the exact same line about
That's hilarious.
I'm telling you, it's funny.
That's great.
So I was going to make a trivia question about what two films have that line.
That's crazy.
Nobody's going to get that, of course.
That's crazy.
So let's talk about some other interesting things. You know, it is the highest grossing film ever to win the Best Picture Academy Award. Was the highest grossing film in box office history until it was surpassed by Avatar, which we mentioned, also directed by him. It was the most Oscar-nominated film not to win in any acting categories. Which I figured...
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's fair.
14 nominations.
The best actor in that movie is The Ship.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point.
You know what? That's not true. I would like to apologize on behalf of Bernard Hill.
And Bernard Hill. And Victor Garber was good in it. I thought he was very good. Very realistic. I don't think he gets enough credit either.
No.
This is just a little fact I wrote down as I thought this was interesting. It's the first film to be nominated twice for an Academy Award for the portrayal of the same character. So Kate Winslet received the Best Actress nomination for her role as Rose, and Gloria Stewart received the Best Oscar Supporting Actress nomination for Rose. The interesting thing about that is the only other time that's happened was in the movie Iris, which also starred Kate Winslet.
What is it called?
Iris.
I've never even heard of it.
Iris Murdoch. Kate Winslet, again, plays the younger version, and Judi Dench, I think, plays the older one.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a sort of a period film. The first film to be nominated for an Academy Award for the portrayal of the same character, which was the Kate Winslet character. She received the Best Actress nomination for her role as Rose, and Gloria Stewart received... Oh, wait, I just said that. Same thing. Both films starred Kate Winslet. Now, Gloria Stewart, did you notice this? I didn't like that either. She was only 86 at the time. I say only 86.
I was going to say, yeah.
We should all be so lucky. But she was aged.
Really?
To make her playing Rose look like she was 100, yeah. And she didn't enjoy that. And however, she did die in 2010 at the age of 100.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting for her.
We can't all be Dick Van Dyke.
No, right, exactly, yeah. He's probably laughing at her. Like,
God bless that man.
Amateur. I know. This is also the first Best Picture Academy Award winner to be produced, directed, written, and edited by the same person, which is James Cameron. So that's pretty impressive, I guess. The movie's line, "I'm the king of the world," which I also hated.
I hate that.
I
hated that line.
I hated it right from the beginning.
I hated it before I saw it.
Yep. And it's been spoofed so many times. Exactly. Like every movie, you see them doing that.
The amount of times, too, I've seen so many people do that pose, for jokes.
Yeah,
I'm like, it does.
Any place if you're anywhere where there's a ship's prow, guaranteed two people somewhere in that crowd are going to go up and do that same and take a picture, say those lines.
My pastor and his best friend did that on his deck when they were power watching it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so funny, yep. But it was the number 4 on the 100 Greatest Movie Lines by Premiere, voted number 4. And it was the 100th movie quote in the American Film Institute out of 100. Okay. So at least it's near the bottom. But I just thought, it's one of those corny lines. Who really say that?
People quote it, though.
They do. I mean, it's certainly memorable.
People quote it all the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's a good line.
That's correct. That's true.
Let's see. I had a couple other things I thought, but well, we could also just talk about the film itself. Whoever doesn't really know the film, right?
We could.
You know the whole story about it, right?
Yeah.
It is the Titanic. Big shocker! It does sink. It does hit an iceberg. Yeah. Which is crazy. I know you've done some research. I was reading something, too, about how the ship was just too big to move.
Yes.
And when they did see that iceberg...
They tried.
They tried to move, but it would have taken like a half hour for them to avoid that iceberg.
The worst part is, I've read, too, that if they just tanked it on the front, there would have been less
Exactly.
death.
Probably would have survived and been able to pull into New York a couple days late.
If
they had hit it head on, it would have been safer.
The way they tried to swing it, so they tried to swing it in such a way that it would miss both ends of the ship. Right. If they'd... Probably just...
If they plowed into it head on.
Yeah.
A lot of scientists and physicists say it would have been fine.
So of the chambers on that ship, I believe it was built to survive up to. I'm trying to remember how many it was built to survive.
Yeah, I forget too.
I want to say. I'm blanking. On my research for this.
You talk about all like the different seal type compartments on the bottom. I know. I forget how many too. So I was thinking 7, but that could be cow's stomach.
16.
16. I was
major watertight compartments. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was able to stay afloat up to 3 or 4. There were 5 or 6 flooded.
Right.
So that was because it hit that skid line.
Yeah. And then did you read? I also read something I found interesting too about the mirage that happens on the ice in the water. So they really might not have seen that.
The water was very calm that night.
And there's even a name for it. It's like it's not the colossal effect, but it's something like that, where there's actually an effect where
because of how still it was, and how like the sky was,
a mirage where you won't even see that iceberg until you're really close to it, and then it's too late. Mm-hmm. I thought that they didn't know that at the time, obviously, but scientists have since determined that. Not just for the Titanic, for any ship at sea, you might not see these icebergs. Right?
The binoculars was an urban legend too, like whether or not they had access to those.
Right,
like there were. The fact is we weren't there, and a lot of people that survived weren't close enough to like management to really know what all went down.
Right. Yeah. But everyone has a tale to tell.
Sure.
And some of them it's just taken immediately as gospel.
That's really, I think, the point of the movie is like it's a movie that's based on first-person experience. Like this was my memory of this, which is part of why I think it would have been so much more interesting if they talked from the perspective of someone who was there. Yeah. Like, but again, I don't want to judge the film too harshly by what it's not. For what it is, it serves its purpose.
Yeah, no, it does. For me, and for you apparently too, I think at least it made us research it more. Yeah. I felt sort of incomplete. I did want to look more into the characters and see, so what did happen? Like, why did this happen? You know, and that's a good thing. I wish all films did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really curious.
Unfortunately, not all films are based on reality, so you can't do that.
That's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, it's not, no. Right, but I did enjoy that aspect because it definitely made me, and there's been a lot of films. I love sort of historical-based films, and I like researching them myself. Mm-hmm. You know, it always inspires me. And then sometimes I'll read the book if it's based on a novel. I'll read that, which is another good thing. Mm-hmm. As a kid in particular, it did get me into reading a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, which that's not a bad thing.
No.
I don't know if that's still happening today. I hope it is.
I think it depends.
Yeah. But I remember, do you remember, maybe not, but when I was a kid, a lot of stores would have that sort of the turn paperback novel that you could spin it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, some of them were just on films, like the either the novelization of the film or the novel the film was based on. Yeah. And I used to love getting those, and I used to just read those quickly. Because I always felt like there's a little bit more. You know, a novel will always give you a little more detail.
Well, there's some stuff, like Project Hail Mary currently is like the movie of the year. We're talking about it. Right. The amount of people I know who have gone out and now are reading that book.
Yeah, I see it all the time in the stores. Yeah,
and who are now going back and reading The Martian and other works by this guy. Right. Reading is getting back into becoming more popular.
Which is good. That's always a good thing. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that movie?
Not yet. I want to.
Yeah, I heard it's good. Really good. You can even take the whole family to see it from what I've been hearing.
It sounds like it's really good. I know my cousin and I were just talking about it the other day. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. It's also over 2 hours.
Everything is anymore.
I know. That's always a little bit of a deterrent.
Every time I walk into theaters, I assume that I'm going to be there for a minimum 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And the previews are like an hour now, right? They're like a half hour at least.
Although, I don't know. Next week, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in for re-release, so I might see if I can try to hit that.
Oh, Ferris Bueller? Mm-hmm. What was the other one? You mentioned another one recently to me. That was... Did it pass already?
Ben-Hur was in Easter weekend.
Yeah.
But your family was busy Easter weekend.
I know. But I did want to see that. Yeah. Because I love that film, too. But that's another 3+ hour film.
Yes. Yeah. Totally worth it.
Yeah, definitely worth it, yeah. And the Titanic also, I would say. Yeah.
Worth it.
Not one of my favorites, and I had mostly criticisms of it, but still, I think it's a noteworthy film. I think it's worth watching.
Well, like I said, there's good points. I think we both mentioned the score is great. Yeah. The acting overall, especially from like some of the lesser bits, like the lesser parts, is good. Right. The effects are great. The pacing of it could use some work, but at the end of the day, like there's a reason it's an iconic film. Go out and dedicate a long stretch of time.
Yeah, a big portion of your day
to watch it. Yeah. Definitely check
I agree. I think it's definitely worth watching and we should also review some of the other James, like you said, pre-Titanic James Cameron.
I have a lot to say about pre-Titanic
Aliens,
James Cameron.
What was the other one you said?
Both Terminators?
The Abyss was great. Yeah. Of course, Terminators, yeah. Great films.
Yeah.
And the Terminator, oh my gosh, I keep talking to people. I think that's going to be happening soon, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we're there.
Oh,
it's
we're
happening.
there. Oh, gosh, and it's almost funny because like you thought the Terminator was a warning, so we wouldn't let it happen.
We let it happen,
and nobody's even like worried.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Like, oh my gosh, I know people I'm friends with who know the Terminator are like, I use AI for everything now. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's wrong?
Yeah, I'm
with
like,
you?
we're all gonna die. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's funny.
Did you have a favorite scene in this?
It's gonna take a minute. Let me think. I know I should have something. It's probably more of those smaller scenes. Like I said, I thought the ones like with Jeanette Goldstein and her two kids, that was a powerful scene. Isidore Strauss and his wife in the bed. Very small scenes. You blink and you miss them, but the water filling up.
Yeah.
The couple. Those are the ones that tug on my heartstring. And they're, I don't know about the Jeanette Goldstein story, but I'm sure there's some truth behind that. You know what I mean? But we know the Isidore Strauss and his wife, Ida, that was true.
Yep.
You know? I found those the most poignant. Like, those are the ones that kind of stuck with me at the end. And the spectacle of it. I mean, really, like you said, from a little after the iceberg hits to when it really starts filling up, and people really start to sense that. Even if you're listening to it and you hear the sounds all around you. And they made a point of that also. Like, even as he was getting into the lifeboat with her, not even the lifeboat, the floating piece of wood at the end, you hear all those screams around, And what it must have been, that air, that cold air, the sounds it must have been filled with.
Yeah.
And, these are people dying, And even when the one stack fell and landed on, I think it was Fabrizio, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it lands right on them. And they did find some bodies that they said were crushed, and they believe that the stacks did land on them, too. That's very sad. Those, the whole ending,
It's sobering.
It is, yeah. And it'll keep you watching, because, there's so much happening constantly,
Right.
In fact, even there, I could have done it without the subplot when it goes back in and they're running downstairs and he's, and then Billy Zane's trying to shoot them. Like, you could have just stuck with the outside of the ship, the stuff going on in real life.
My favorite scene, like individually in the movie, is probably when the captain goes back onto the bridge when it implodes.
Oh yeah, and all that water comes in.
Yeah,
that was powerful too. Yeah. You know what's funny though? Did you notice it almost reminded me of Leslie Nielsen in the Poseidon Adventure?
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, you haven't seen the Poseidon Adventure?
Not yet.
Oh, well, we'll have to do that at some point.
My dad
That's a really good film.
Says that too.
But there's a scene, spoiler.
I guess
there's
Leslie
a scene
Nielsen
where the water
dies.
comes in and Leslie Nielsen's standing in that room and all the windows, everything gets imploded by.
I didn't know he was in that.
Oh yeah, that was a serious Leslie Nielsen before he became a comedy legend.
I thought because that's
He's the captain of the Poseidon. Very serious, no jokes at all, not even a smirk.
That's well.
And as the wave comes to hit, he's just standing there in the bridge with a few other crew members.
That's Gene Hackman, isn't it?
Gene Hackman's the main star, yeah.
Oh.
Ernest Borgnine.
I knew that.
Good cast, yeah. Gene Hackman is Reverend Scott. Yeah, he's really good in it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's on the to-watch list. I'll get there when I'm done slogging through the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yeah.
But, do you have a favorite character or performance?
Character? Well, it's definitely not Rose or Jack.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know they're the center
Don't
of the story.
apologize to me.
No, I'm just apologizing in general because I know
happen.
they're the center of the film, but nothing very likable about either. Sorry, just really wasn't. Again, not apologizing to
anyway.
you, but yeah. Favorite character was not Fabrizio either. I'll tell you that. I liked Victor Garber. I thought that was more one of the more
Thomas Andrews.
Yeah. I thought that was one of the more honest portrayals. And it's funny because it's not a major role, but you can kind of see it, all the emotions he goes through, right? You feel like, again, the pride in the beginning, and then the disappointment, and then the guilt.
And they don't play him like cartoonish in any
Not
direction.
at all, no.
He's really subtle.
He was very good, and it was all, like, you didn't even know, maybe a little of both. I didn't know if he was motivated by valor or guilt or a combination at the end, in real life, saving all those people, what really drove him. But, you just feel for that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're standing there by himself, like. And he was even nice to Rose at the end,
He's like, and it's despair too. Like, he knows he's going down with the ship.
Yeah. And all those men, knowing they had to. Whether they wanted to or not, they kind of had to.
Well, no one wanted to.
No one wanted to, right? Yeah, he was probably believe it or not, he was probably my favorite character.
This might be the first time we agreed on pretty much everything across the board.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised.
That's crazy.
I heard from a little birdie told me that you liked the film. So
Rachel? Was it
yes,
Rachel? That's funny.
So I thought, that's gonna be funny because I don't really like it that much.
Well, I went.
But you're the things you didn't like were the same things I didn't like.
So when I went to breakfast with her and her cousin, another really close friend of mine, the week after, I pretty much held her hostage over the breakfast table, and told her pretty much everything I've just told you.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt bad afterward because she kind of was like looking like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Um.
But again, we seem to agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I even thought maybe we wouldn't on this one, but we still agree, which is, I think that's a good thing.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. So, honestly, overall, 2 days out from the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, it was a terrible event. Yeah. And, like, the film doesn't detract from that, even in the event, like, even in the, like, disaster movie portion of it. It's a respectful homage and portrayal, I think, of something that actually happened that is slightly marred by things that were added in by nature of making it a film.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you had to, I guess, or they felt they had to, but it was a better film without Jack and Rose, honestly, in my opinion.
But that film doesn't exist.
Right. You know, they're happy. I wonder if they'll make, just out of curiosity, I wonder if they'll make another Titanic film.
They haven't really since this.
They haven't, and it feels like maybe this was the...
definitive.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see not wanting to touch it again.
Yeah, I can see that too. Right. And you know, if you make one, you know you're not going to win 11 Academy Awards or, you know, be at the box office for 16 weeks, whatever it was. So maybe that is the final say in it. But, because there were a few, and this was not even the first film about the Titanic to win the Best Picture. Yeah. Did you know that?
No,
there was a film called Cavalcade, which I haven't seen, 1931 or 33, was also about the Titanic, and that won Best Picture. Wow. And I didn't really know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So they've done a lot. The first one, in fact, I didn't tell you this. This was interesting. The woman who, there was a woman who was on the Titanic and survived. I forget if she was a nurse, whatever she was, or maybe she was just a child at the time. But she was in the first film depicting that same year.
I heard that.
The film came out in 1914.
Is that crazy?
It's crazy, yeah. And she became a big star in silent film, you know, the silent film era.
I feel like if I survived that, I wouldn't be in a movie.
I know. Like, yeah. It was so close to the reality, yeah.
Like 15 years out.
Yeah.
That's a little...
She did it the year it...
That's crazy.
It sank. Yeah, the film came out. It was called Saved from the Titanic. Woof. And it came out in 1914. Can you imagine it?
Yikes on dikes.
Because the ship sank in April, so I think it came out, I forget the month, but it came out later that year. Wow. Because everybody wanted to know. You tell us what happened. She even used she wore the same outfit. You can see it online. The same outfit she had on the night that it went down.
That's insane.
And it's almost like pajamas. Like, that's what she had on on the ship.
That's insane.
Yeah, crazy. I forget her name, but apparently she was a big star at the time, you know? Mostly from that film.
I bet.
Yeah. Interesting.
Those are all my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much mine, too. I mean...
not a whole lot else to...
No.
The thing is, I feel like there's more to say, but I feel like our passion for this movie ends with the story. Yeah. So, I feel like it'd be a disservice to drag this out.
I am going to pursue it still, though. Are you still going to... I'm still going to look stuff up.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go... Yeah, my cousin sent me 2 more documentaries I have to watch.
And I'll tell you, I don't think we'll do this movie necessarily, but my middle son was just in Texas, and he went to see the Alamo.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. But before even he went, I kind of urged him to go check it out because he was going to be near San Antonio. But and he had no real idea about it. So I started looking into it myself to tell him about it. And I don't know if I'll watch any of the films, the Billy Bob Thornton one, probably even less interested in, or the John Wayne one, which I might be more interested in, which I've seen. Sure. But now that I know, but this again, now I'm looking up. I have a whole bunch of videos saved on YouTube about the real final moments of the Alamo. And again, these men just... What shocked me, and Brendan told me this yesterday, my son, that, you know, it was like, it really was about 185, less than 200 men holding out against 5,000 to 6,000 Mexicans.
That's crazy.
For 13 days. They held them out, kept them at bay. And it included Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, some famous men. And when, what was I going to say? I just lost my thought. Oh, yeah, my son told me, you know, it ended up being almost 200 men because during the siege, which is a 13-day siege, I think on day 5 or 6, like 40 more Tennesseans showed up there to fight, knowing they were not going to win.
That's crazy.
I said, if I was those guys, I hate to say this, and it's sort of cowardly, but I think I might have just said, you know what, we don't have to show up. They're not going to say anything. Like, they're not going to survive. That's true. So why don't we just turn around and go back to Tennessee?
Cut your losses.
But they went back in. They shook, according to, you know, the few people that did survive, the wives and the children. They said, they all shook hands. They said, hey, great to be here. Well, it doesn't look good. We're not going to make it, but we're here to fight with you.
That's bananas.
I mean, men are just not like that anymore today, you know? I like reading those stories because there's nothing like that today.
Well,
I mean, there might be, but...
I was like, we're in the middle of another upheaval culturally. So
Yeah.
we'll see where we're at in another 5 years.
Yeah, hopefully it comes back.
I don't know. We'll
If nothing
see.
else, we'll have some good films to watch.
I guess so. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. All right.
With that said,
yeah.
thanks everybody so much for listening. I think this is our longest to date, which tracks for the longest movie we've done so far.
Right.
If you guys liked what you hear, go ahead, give us a follow, and leave a suggestion if you want, if anything that you'd want us to check out in the future. We're always looking for good movie recs.
Yes.
None of us have seen everything by any means.
Right.
And you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.